and welcome to another episode of Talking Bollocks. Yes, it's me, I'm back, Howard H. Smith, coming at you live in your podcast app, in your speakers, in your headphones, in your earbuds, wherever I am. It's lovely to be in your ears. I am back, I am refreshed, I have been on my first holiday for 13 years. What? And what a great idea holidays are. Feel a lot better, feel fucking revived, everything, frankly. So, my name is Howard H. Smith. I am the presenter of this here podcast. I also present the official Motorhead podcast, the Motorcast. I present the Reducer, a football podcast with two comedy mates. I sing in Acid Rain, that there thrash band. I do stand-up comedy as myself in Leeds, emceeing this weekend, and as Keith Platt, the professional Yorkshireman. So there you go. That is what I does. I've also got a spoken word show coming up in November in Bristol. So I will put a ticket link out there if you want to come along and hear all the stories I can't tell on the podcast. Yeah, there's been a few of those over the years. So, hello. What has been going on in the world of metal since last we spoke? Well, not a great deal. So the latest news stories that aren't news, in fact, I've tried to pick the ones out that are as close to being new as possible, is Wendy Dio says remixed version of Dio's The Last in Line album is in the works for 2024 release. Now, has anybody heard the remix of Holy Diver? I haven't, so I am not going to pontificate about this. But remasters are cool. I just think remixing something when the main man, who you know would have been in there with the mix engineer, is no longer with us, I just feel it's a kind of little bit redundant. I mean, but as people always say, it's as well as, not instead of, so it'll be out there. I'm just saying that I'm not particularly interested in hearing it. But there you go. Never mind. Next up, the most needy press release I have read in some time. Just listen to them squeezing out every ounce of, oh, isn't this wonderful? It's pathetic. Creed and Sixthman, that's Sixth, Sixthman, Sixthman, the leader in festivals and music cruises for more than 2 decades, we'll have to take their word for that, have made rock and roll history fucking steady on with the swift sellouts of their immersive 1990s rock and roll celebrations at sea. Summer of 1999 cruise and Summer of 1999 and Beyond cruise. The first ever artist-branded event franchise in Sixthman history to completely sell out 2 separate voyages. Well, calm down, because history couldn't give a fuck about you, Sixthman. But let's carry on. Following the historic announcement and immediate sellout of Week 1, Creed unveiled Week 2 to a similarly unprecedented response, with all reservations booked within an hour of public sale. Presented by Sixthman, Summer of 99 and Summer of 99 and Beyond will be highlighted by the first public live performances in more than a decade by Creed, the Grammy Award-winning band. Yada, yada, yada. Says where they're going to go and when the cruises are. They're heralded with a series of viral teasers that lit up social media. Fucking hell, you needy cunts! You need to bang on about how good your social media was, do you? Fuck off! The cruises were met by worldwide media attention. Summer of 99 is now the top 3 among Sixthman's all-time pre-sales sign-ups and waiting list sign-ups for events of any kind. Sixthman, pull your head out your fucking arse. No one gives a fucking shit. You're just a fucking company. You don't make rock and roll history. You're a pack of cunts making money. Both Summer of 99 and Summer of 99 and Beyond will see Creed, comprised of reuniting for the first time since 2012 for 2 unique live performances under the Caribbean stars on the famed pool deck stage. Summer of 99 will showcase an explosive... There's no fucking explosions going off here. Explosive lineup. It's not an explosive lineup unless one of the bands is a pile of dynamite, you fucking twats. Explosive lineup that includes... I consider this anything but an explosive lineup. Very special guest 3 Doors Down, alongside a stacked all-star bill featuring Buckcherry, Tonic, Vertical Horizon, Fuel, The Verve Pipe, Tantric, Dishwalla, Louise Post of Veruca Salt, 9 Days, and Sugar... The New Metal Party. Summer of 99 and beyond will then boast its own incredible bill featuring very special guest Daughtry. Alongside an all-star lineup that includes Buckcherry, Tonic, Vertical Horizon, Fuel, The Verve Pipe, Tantric, Louise Post of Veruca Salt, 9 Days, my favourite band so far, Jimmy's Chicken Shack, and Sugar, the New Metal Party. Both voyages will be hosted by Eddie Trunk. This is getting fucking worse. I mean, your heavy metal granddad is going to be there. God. And the stars of the Power Hour, Matt Pinfield and Katie Babbs and Josh Bernstein, and also feature an exclusive live question and answer session with Creed open to all guests. This is my favourite bit. There'll be an activities and podcast host, panels, autograph session, and a very special Y2K countdown themed party. Yeah, I've already been to one of those. Yeah, New Year's 1999, you fucking idiots. As if that weren't enough, all guests will receive an autographed commemorative item signed by Creed prior to both events. I mean, fucking hell, people. Can you fucking wait or not? Jesus Christ, I hope those boats sink. That's not a want. It isn't, but fucking hell. Just the absolute... It's not often that a press release has me so amazed after all these years, but fucking hell. Just the needy nature of Sixthman. It's unbelievable, it really is. Well, needless to say, I won't be going to that steaming heap of shit. And by the way, I did 1999 in 1999 and don't feel the need to do it again. Fucking really weird. So after that, we go across to Tim Ripper Owens. You've got to love, he's hanging in there with the Ripper, isn't he? Still hanging in there with the Ripper nickname that, to be fair, suited a younger man, and it didn't suit him then. But anyway, let's just carry on. Tim Ripper Owens spoke about his relationship with band's current singer, Rob Halford, obviously talking about Judas Priest. I think it made people very angry that we were there was never really a rivalry between us. I mean, there was a little bit of things said back in the day, but we've always been friends and I've always respected him, obviously. And he's always talked about me well in the press. So I think it does make people mad that we don't hate each other and that we don't say bad things. I don't think that makes people mad. But we definitely consider each other friends and there's a respect there. Oh, yeah, yeah. Everybody's always going on about how pissed off they are about those two being friends. Maybe not. He goes on to say, asked if he thinks there's a chance of Priest staging a one-off reunion concert featuring all current members of the band, including Owens and founding Priest guitarist KK Downing. He said, should there be? Yes. Will there be? I don't think so. I don't think they would ever do it. They don't seem to make those kind of good decisions, so I don't think it would happen. It's only good for KK Downing and you, mate. The band are still going. They're putting a new album out. Why are they going to put all of that on hold? So you and KK can have one last hurrah with them. It's just fucking ridiculous. They don't seem to make those kind of good decisions, so I don't think it would happen. I mean, this is a band that went to one guitar player went to one guitar player last year. He had referencing the fact Priest announced it would tour with one guitarist. So I don't really think it would happen. Well, I'm not sure how the two are related, but yeah, it's not going to happen. But it's basically, I don't think it's for any other reason than they're fucking busy. Do you know what I mean? Honestly. Now, a news story that's not a news story. Megadeth plays third concert with new touring guitarist Teemu Mantisari. Now, I'm sorry if Teemu Mantisari is a poor pronunciation, but to be honest, mate, your first name, Teemu, is a fucking Chinese website that at the moment is basically a data mining site. So if you've all seen the adverts for Teemu and you see all the cheap stuff on there, don't fucking buy anything. It's a fucking data gathering website. It purely exists to gather data about you and your fucking credit cards, etc. So anyway, Megadeth plays third concert with new touring guitarist, Chinese website. Mantisari. Teemu Mantisari. My point is, when's it stop being a fucking story? Megadeth plays 89th concert with new touring guitarist Teemu Mantisari. He played, fifth? When do you stop? Yeah, third concert with the new guitarist. When do you stop? Is it the 4th? Is it the 5th? Is it the 6th? Is it the 7th? Is it the 8th? You can see where I'm going here. Is it the 23rd, 25th? Just fucking stop now. It's not a story. Fuck off. Next up. Love this. And this is all we're doing. We're going bang into the interview after this because I've just spent too long ranting about Sixthman and their fucking pathetic fucking press release. Anyway, what a quote. Mickey D. I will never try to put Motorhead as a band out there again with some other idiot taking Lemmy's place. What a top man. What an absolutely top man. Got to be honest, saw a little bit of footage of Pantera recently, and it's not really working for me, to be honest. I love Charlie Benante as a guitarist. I'm not a massive Zakk Wylde fan. I'm more of a thrash metal guy, but clearly, and I have this on very good authority, like Zakk is not playing the riffs the way they should be played, the way Dime played them. And Charlie pushes the beat, and, you know, Vinny kind of was behind the beat. It's just really isn't the same. It's not really for me. There you go. Okay? But anyway, I don't know why anybody would want to know what I thought of Pantera, but I thought I'd throw it in there anyway, so let's fucking get on with it, shall we? Yeah! So, on the podcast, this episode is my good friend, Miles Hackett. You've had Miles on here before. We were on in lockdown, and offline, we came up with the idea of the Motorcast, and it happened. That's very fucking rare. Yeah, so Miles is a mate. He's somebody I work with, putting the Motorcast out. He used to run Dry Heave Records. He put Plan of the Damned, our comeback single, out as a 7-inch vinyl. And he's just an all-round top dude. Heavily involved. He runs the Noise Records imprint on BMG now. You're going to hear all about it. You know, it's going to be cool. So sit back. This is Miles and I having a chat at the label a few weeks ago. Welcome back to the podcast, Miles.
Thanks. Good to be here.
It's nice to be here. I am sat in an interview room in BMG Records, just painting pictures with words here, folks, trying to put you in the room. It's a typical classic music biz office. It's rather plush. Sofas, multicoloured cushions that you would only see in a music shop.
Yeah, I mean, this place is kind of where we entertain artists. Nikki Sixx was sat in this very chair about a month ago.
Really?
Yeah, he came in the office. We were working on some Motley Crue stuff, and we just got a call saying Nikki Sixx coming by the office. Like, okay.
That's a weird sort of guest to drop in for tea, isn't it?
Yeah, he came round and had some lunch with us, and had a bit of a chat with him. They were just about to start their stadium tour. And he had some new music he wanted to play, and plugged his phone into the stereo over there and cranked it up. He was rocking out, yeah. He was a really lovely guy.
Right, cool.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of people come in this office, as you might imagine, you know.
Yeah.
Never really from the rock world, particularly, but...
except today, right?
Yeah. He turned a few heads. He turned a few heads when he came in. I mean, he came in with a bandana and shades, and, you know, like he'd stepped off stage. It was great. But he stopped everyone that was, like, party met, he was like, "Hi, Mickey, nice to meet you." And really made an effort with everyone. It was actually quite nice, because sometimes we get emails come around saying, "So and so is going to be in the office today. If you see them, don't look them in the eye." No naming names.
Yeah. Wow. I'm always amazed when I hear stories like that, because it always sounds like from a different era, but no, people are.
Yeah, apparently he's quite interested in the whole kind of marketing side of what goes on with his band still. 40 odd years down the line, he still likes to be in the middle of it, and he came without any management. Him and his chauffeur brought him here, and he,
no entourage.
Yeah, no entourage, just came up on his own.
Wow, that's cool.
We've got some takeout.
Yeah. That's kind of, that's given me a kind of different angle on it, really.
Yeah. No, it's quite interesting. We didn't get to meet any of the other guys, but I think I got the vibe that, Nicky's, it's kind of his band and he steers the ship sort of thing. And he just wanted to sort of wave and say hello, because it's our American office that did the deal with them and worked with them largely, and he's like, "I want to go to your London office and introduce myself." Okay.
Wow.
And then he bowled, so that's
a touch of class.
That was a strange Monday, that was for sure.
Yeah, it would be, it would be. So you completed all of the noise stuff?
Pretty much. There's a few things still coming down the track. I mean, this year is the 40th anniversary of Noise. So this year we did a Sabbath box set, which you may have seen.
Yes, I have it in my bag. You gave it to me earlier, thank you very much.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of people asking for those records for a very long time.
Yeah.
So it was nice to put that together, and there was the Radio 1 session in amongst that don't even aired once, I think, in early 87.
So, I mean, let's be honest, you can call that unreleased, can't you?
Yeah, pretty much. There's a few people with wonky tapes of it, myself included.
Still not released, though.
Yeah. And that was the deal, that was the demo that got them the Noise deal, because they'd rushed another demo after one of their demos, and the label didn't think it was good enough, and then Tommy Vance offered them that session, and that kind of clinched it for them.
Yeah.
So it was good, and then we'd been digging through the archive, and we found the original, like some rough mix tapes of the Berlin concert that was originally on that VHS cassette, and there was a couple of tracks that they'd left off the VHS, so we kind of released that on vinyl in its entirety.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people were asking for Blood for the Blood God and demos and that, but we don't as a label own them, so we couldn't include them, sadly.
Yeah, you could only do what was officially released.
Yeah, what we have the rights to. So it was nice to put those back out, and I've spoken to Martin and Andy, and they're kind of happy what we've done. We need to sort out some historic Noise contractual stuff with them, but that's something that we can do, because we're...
Well, I think that's what you have to say about any band who were on Noise, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a sadly repetitious story about how those bands were treated, and the deals that they were on.
Funnily enough, this has all reminded me that there was a time when Carl Ulterbach, the old impresario of Noise, the man who started the whole thing, I've spoken to him a couple of times, actually spoken to him, which is kind of weird, because we emailed, and he wanted to, and it's like he just wanted to have a conversation before coming on the show, and everything was fine.
Yeah.
Just never got him on the show.
Really?
Yeah. But he said he was going to do it, and then we had cancellation and stuff, and then hand up, I kind of stopped chasing.
What's he doing nowadays?
He was working with some bands, so clearly, not everyone's heard.
Not everyone's read.
Yeah.
Oh,
clearly, some people still don't have internet access.
Yeah, I mean, I can't repeat some of the stuff I heard that went on, but there's
we best kind of like take a left turn here.
Yeah,
because there's nothing good going to come.
But it's there's still some other Noise artists, probably not from that kind of classic period, for want of a better word, that we want to work with. Some of the sort of 90s more power metal stuff.
Yes,
that's sort of saw the label pick back up again after the sort of, they tried to kind of drift into new metal territory and lost its way a little bit, and then it kind of started to put itself back on the map with some of the more power metal stuff. So there's a couple of bands from that era that we're looking to work with down the line. We released some of that stuff actually last year. A band Conception, which is a Norwegian power metal band fronted by a former lead singer of Camelot. So it kind of gives a colours the palette as to what they might sound like.
all power metal is playing in my head right
it's
now.
more proggy than anything, and it's, there's long tracks and that, but they've got a cult fan base, and they've reformed, and they're playing big crowds across the world.
Yeah, power metal for me, it's something. There is. Let's be honest here, okay? There's traits of US thrash metal, and there's traits of European thrash metal. There's traits of UK thrash metal. But when it comes to power metal, it's like the popularity seems like concentrated in Europe.
Yeah.
Is that just my kind of?
I think it's
half-assed view of it.
You could argue where it started, but a lot of people say that Halloween was kind of ground zero for a lot of it.
Oh, absolutely. That's my reading of it.
A band that's celebrating their 40th anniversary next year. And then it kind of bled out from there. Scandinavia's big on it. I was at a festival in Sweden recently, Blind Guardian were on. And I met a singer from Hammerfall at Motley Crue gig recently, familiar. They're kind of huge. And then it spilled over to South America. The South Americans love it.
Right.
They cannot get enough of it.
Yeah, but that's metal in general, isn't it? South America just can't get enough
metal as a whole. Look at the streaming numbers, and then look where it's coming from, and it's Chile and Brazil and.
I was looking at Acid Rain socials the other day in the back end.
Yeah.
It's like, London, and then it's South America.
Yeah.
And India.
India, interesting. Yeah, an emerging market they like to call it.
Well, yes, they do. Although, it just boggles my mind that the emerging market, the so-called next great superpower, was caught out to the extent that it was in the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're going to be a superpower, your people need sewers and a clean water supply. That's an idea.
So that power metal thing. But power metal, is it popular in America? I don't know. Arguably bands like Camelot are American.
Yeah.
But I think they found their audience in Europe. That's not to say they're not popular in the States, but I think it's probably they were embraced by Europe first.
Yeah.
And then Noise had a bunch of stuff. We haven't got the rights to all of it, but bands like Stratovarius and Gamma Ray got all their stuff back, but there's still a few there that we're going to be sort of attempting to work on. And then actually an unusual one that you wouldn't really associate with Noise, but had 2 albums on Noise, an old band from the 80s. That I can't name at the moment because we're in negotiation with them.
Yeah, okay.
But so there's still a bit of life in it, and we've got some plans as well. Obviously the label's been largely catalogue releases for the last 7 years, but we've just signed our first band back to the label when making it, since it probably was sold by Sanctuary to Universal.
Wow. So this will be momentous news in metal.
Yeah, hopefully. Everyone's going, who's going to play them? So we've just signed a band, and the record's going to be announced in September, released in November, and I think everyone's going to be like, okay, interesting. So it's someone that's worked with the label before.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be quite exciting. I've always said that it would be nice. BMG as a business doesn't have a metal imprint. And you just have to look at some of our other labels. Universal has Spine Farm.
Yeah.
Sony has Music for Nations.
Yeah.
Warner has Roadrunner. They're all big brands that we lived on when we were young, All our favourite records on those labels, and Noise I consider amongst that. So
absolutely, yeah.
Part of me has kind of wanted to resurrect it as a forward-facing record label for a while. So that's
as a thrash kid myself, as 2 thrash kids growing up.
Yeah.
If we could have said that we'd be sat in this office, looking over London, talking about how the metal imprints on all the major labels would be like our favourite labels. The labels we considered ours at the time.
Oh, absolutely.
That we would buy the next release of because it was on that label.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place to be. Really.
Yeah, I'm very excited by it, and I'm hoping that kind of when we get to announce the signing that it will open the door to some more.
I'm sure it will, because it excited me.
Yeah. So yeah, watch this space on that front, really.
Awesome.
But yeah, in terms of Noise, I mean, we've got some special editions coming out of some of the big Noise records. There's some limited colour pressings of Creators' Pleasure to Kill with a nice embossed cover.
Awesome.
Back to the original artwork.
I'm always up for anything to do with Pleasure to Kill.
That's such a banger.
Yeah.
Voivod, we're doing a special edition of Dimension H.
Oh, what was special about it? Obviously,
it's got a poster and it's got some nice fancy colour vinyl on it.
Nice.
And a fancy colour edition of Keeping 7 Keys by Halloween and Kelly Frost, Emperor's Return.
Wow.
So
that's some serious releases.
Yeah, Emperor's Return hadn't been on vinyl, I don't know, since the 80s until we included it in the box set, but there's a lot of people that couldn't afford the box set and have that incomplete gap in their collection that would like Emperor's Return.
That's a really good shout, yeah.
So we decided we'd repress that, but yeah, no Cold Lake, I'm afraid.
But that's the... there will be people who are disappointed, there will be people who are banning
I just want to say that now before they're all on the socials going, where's Cold Lake?
Yeah. Well, every time anybody mentions Cold Lake to me or tries to talk it up or anything else, I just refer them to the man himself. So... He wants nothing to do with it. He doesn't want anything out.
And we respect that.
So yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of where we are. And then there'll be the first new signing to Noise in 2 decades.
That's amazing.
Announced later this year.
That's amazing.
And it's proper old school.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait.
Yeah, very exciting.
So outside of work, obviously, your old label is very much your old label, because this job is all consuming, and there's a danger that when that happens, you get consumed by the business, the music business, and you get consumed by the business as opposed to the music. I know there's no chance of that happening with you, but by the same token, has it had any effect? Because you've been here a few years now, and the role changes. And
yeah, what do you mean in terms of going out to shows or anything?
Yeah, like going out to shows and
do you know what? I've been very lucky that I've done a bit of travelling this year, and I've been to some interesting festivals. I went to one in the US called Hell's Heroes, and it was a proper old school heavy metal festival. It was like a purpose-built venue that was fairly new, and it had 2 rooms in it, or maybe 3. One about the size of the electric ballroom, about 1,500 cap, but outside there was a permanent outdoor stage and like this AstroTurf, probably about 5,000 cap, and it was a 3-day festival and it was great. There was like Possessed and Razor and what else was on it? I'm trying to think. God, yeah, it was nuts. It was really good. It was the best festival I've been to the US.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really good. I always found there's too many rules and regulations, like you can't drink a beer and watch the band, or whatever. But this place was really relaxed. It was like a festival made by the fans for the fans.
That's cool.
Which was cool.
That's cool. Well, I'm going to see Possessed in a couple of weeks. You go?
Likewise. Yeah. They were very good. Yeah.
Haven't seen you for God knows how long. I'm going to bump into you again in like 10 days.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome. I do like that. There's good stuff coming through town. Actually, I might go and see Sacred Reich as well, because I'm probably going to miss them at Bloodstock. I'm not sure I'm on the day.
Yeah, no, I'm looking to Bloodstock, forward to Bloodstock this year as well. I'm determined to catch a few bands. Trip to Come being one of them, obviously. But it's usually, it's funny because of the nature of the question I asked you, and then I'm about to sit here and say, and then I go to Bloodstock, and last year I saw one band.
I tell you what, I did go to, and this was a bit of a nostalgia fest. I went to Rock Hard Festival just outside Essen in Germany on the Maybank holiday. And it was this purpose-built amphitheatre, and it's kind of concrete steps and that. So no matter where you sit, you can see. And if you want a beer, you hold your cup up, and a little chap with a backpack on runs up and pours you a drink, and you give him €5.
That's brilliant.
It was very civilised, but it was proper old school. There was like Voivod, Tankard, Trips I'm playing a Celtic Frost set, Holy Moses. And then there was some proper old school rock, like there was Brian Downey's Alive and Dangerous cranking out the Thin Lizzy tunes, which worked really well on a Sunday afternoon. Sodom headline one day, they were good.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it was very, very civilised and laid back.
Yeah.
It was good. I can highly recommend it.
Oh, that's the thing is there is these like smaller festivals everywhere. that just like kind of pop up. But it seems to be that level, as in it has to be a big enough event, because I mean the reason I say that is, you know, you look at the UK and the disappointments we've had recently with like Manifest.
And
there was the one in the northeast that name escapes me for a moment.
I know the one you mean, Dominion.
Dominion, that was it. Yeah, Dominion. Yeah. Which, you know, we were supposed to play the first time they organised it, and it was just like, from our point of view as a band, just the way the communication goes. Yeah. Straight away, it was like,
it's a shame. There's a sort of, it feels like there's a bit of a book them and they shall come kind of attitude with those festivals. I don't know. I mean, the logistics of putting a festival on is obviously extraordinary. Yeah. And you look at those bills and go, wow, that'd be a really banging bill in Europe, but will it work in the UK? I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just guess they just underestimated what the attendance, which is a crying shame really, because it would have been nice to put something like that on the map. But
yeah, but I think but there is room if you're doing something a little bit different. There's that sort of is it Stone Deaf?
Stone Dead, yeah.
Stone
it's
Dead.
Like a sort of hard rock thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's
doing quite well.
Yeah, that's sold out every year.
Yeah.
But again, it's like the stuff you referred to in the States. It's more targeted a kind of more just a basic metal crowd.
Yeah. I mean, I look at Germany and I look at the crazy festivals they have over there and go, like, where is there that many people in the country that can literally turn out to these every week? I think a couple of them, from what I've heard, have fallen by the wayside. And then of course you get your Wacken, which is like people fly from all over the globe to go to it.
Well, it's Wacken, Rock am Ring, you name it.
So you wonder where the crowds are, and I think sometimes Manifest in particular has got hampered by COVID, because I think it went on sale before COVID, didn't it? And there's been I know live promoters have been struggling. Post COVID they were getting like, I don't know, 60% of the ticket payers come into the shows when they were rescheduled. You know, and so God knows what it is for poor old festival.
Yeah, no, it was tough after COVID. I mean, it's still tough. Let's not mince words. It's still tough out there. But it is what it is. Every industry is struggling.
Interestingly enough, I mean, let's look at kind of the music sector during COVID. Obviously, the live sector was decimated, and my heart goes out to all the people that work in that and the artists and whatever. Weirdly enough, the recorded music side of it went through the roof.
A guy who owns a label that I know basically said, this is the second best year we've ever had.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And we've been around over 20 years, and this is...
We couldn't print records fast enough.
Yeah.
It went through the roof. And I guess that was because the people that were still working from home or whatever, they're not going on holiday, they're not going to gigs, and all that, so they just mail ordering records. I did it. Jesus, my record collection ballooned.
Well, the thing is as well is that for people who go to the office every day, if they're suddenly working from home all the time, there's all the disposable income that you have that you didn't realise you were pissing away every day. Lunch, coffee, travel,
drinks after work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you're not doing that and going, why is there so much money in my bank? What's going on?
Yeah. It takes a while to acclimatise to yourself when you can go back out in the open world, like, how much have I spent? How many records was that?
That's it, yeah.
Like, literally, my wife was like, there's someone at the door again, and they're like, here's more records. And the spare room just filled up with the envelopes. When I took them down to the recycling, they were taller than me.
That's awesome. That's fucking brilliant.
There's so many of the bloody things.
I did merch. I binged merch. But it had to be special. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'd have to wormhole on something, or I'd see a character in a movie with a t-shirt on, and I'd be like,
I need one of them.
Well, I need one of them. Or just a band, a particular shirt. Or then I got obsessed with trying to find an original Master of Puppets era tour t-shirt, but the Damage Inc. version.
Okay.
But from the time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's my nose for one.
Hey?
That'd be about £300-400.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as I started going into that world, I was like, yeah, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking forward to getting. I'm not looking to getting in an auction.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, or have something, on the wall.
Yeah. I kicked myself because, like you, I went to probably every thrash gig that was going back in from, I don't know, my first was like 87, and I was young. I didn't really drink that much at the time, so I'd always buy a shirt or two, and I had piles of them. I think when I moved home in, I don't know, early 2000s, a couple of bin bags and put them out on the street,
Oh,
I know. And then I was kind of going, I clung on to like 5 shirts, I think, from that day, and I had a DRI one from the Electric Ballroom from '88. I still got it. Gangrene from the same night. Why I kept that, I don't know, but it's a good shirt. A Suicidal one that I bought at Brixton Academy in like '89. Celtic Frost from Hammersmith Odeon in '87. And I've got a Bad Brains long sleeve that I bought at the Marquee in about '88.
Oh man!
And that's all I had left from like literally hundreds of things. Like you name it, I had it.
I remember when I went to see Master of Puppets tour, Anthrax and Metallica. I bought one of every Metallica shirt, and one of every Anthrax shirt.
Yeah, you don't got them anymore.
Fuck. But you know what else I had? This, and I don't have this anymore. It's a Judge Dredd T-shirt, and on the back it's autographed by Scott Ian, Charlie Benanti, James Hetfield, and Cliff Burton.
Ooh.
I know. What a fucking idiot.
I tell you who you should try and...
I know, mind you, I know who's got it. I feel a bit bad about asking for it back.
Oh, I see.
I gave it to them, no strings attached.
Yeah.
It's up to me to
Can't be
get over it, basically, or fucking ask for it back.
I tell you who you should speak to if you get the chance is Jeff from Possessed.
I was hoping to.
Because I'm on the case. Stories about Cliff.
Really?
Well, I met him in Houston briefly, and he started telling all these stories. He said, I've got a suicidal tendencies tattoo on my arm. It says Possessed, and he came up to me and said, is that a Possessed tattoo? And I was like, yeah,
sort of
a suicidal one. And he was like, oh man, yeah, I need so. And he started and off he went. And it was like skateboarding stories about him and Cliff skating around the Bay Area.
Fucking hell.
When they were teenagers, so yeah, you'd get some gold off of him.
Oh wow, yeah, I will.
He seemed like a lovely fella as well. So
well, I've got an interview lined up, which you must remind me about when we finish recording, which I'll tell you about.
Yeah.
But I mean, that old merch. Funnily enough, I also got a really cool Slayer shirt. You know, the black one with just the tidy Slayer logo.
Oh yeah.
So from sort of Rain in Blood, where it's just Slayer and it's in red.
Yeah.
And it just looks cool as fuck. Because let's face it, 99% of Slayer merch looks shit. Looks like it was drawn by a 5-year-old. Yeah, I love your band, Kerry. Fucking love it. I love how you're all over every aspect of the band. Love it. Your merch is shit. Whoever's in charge should have been sacked years ago. But I had that shirt. Took it out the other day. Fucking moths have been at it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I know. So I was like, oh fuck.
I had the talking of shit Slayer merch. I think when I went to see them.
You mean? Hang on. You mean Slayer merch?
You got a Slayer T-shirt on.
Good point. It's one of the few I've managed to track down that isn't shit.
I bought that one, the one that had the gravestone that said "Rain in Pain" on it.
Oh right, yeah, one? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I remember proudly wearing it because it was fairly, obscene in Letchworth where I grew up.
Yeah.
And I used to sort of throw it on when we had Bible bashers knocking on the door.
Brilliant. I'm wearing the Slayer Nation T-shirt, by the way, if any of you are familiar with it. So, and some with the Wehrmacht sort of head on it aren't too bad.
Yeah, they were all right. Yeah.
I remember actually when I would see them on Rain and Blood tour when they had the sweatshirt with that big demon face on it in white, and it just had Slayer in the middle of its forehead in red.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, and the look on your face as you remembered it is exactly.
Yeah, I was trying to conjure it up, and I was like,
Yeah, I was like, guys, what? And it never went away. That fucking sweatshirt did like 2 or 3 tours. It was always there. I was like, who's buying this, or is this the same lot and they just cannot get rid of them? But
I think that was the one and only Slayer T-shirt I ever bought. Actually.
I remember getting chased away from Manchester Apollo by a bootleg merchandiser who was out front, I'd asked more questions than he felt was correct, and when my final question was, do you do mail order? They fucking set off after me.
Be off with you.
Yes, yeah, young ruffian. Those were the days, kipping in train stations, and
God, no, we always managed to get the last train back to London.
Struggling to get home.
Thankfully.
I know.
God.
It amazes me though that I have friends who live in the States, and 6-hour round trip to a gig. They're like, oh yeah, they're playing near us. What?
Yeah, no,
it's like we play Manchester, and people from Liverpool complain that we're not playing Liverpool. So, guys.
I think twice about going to see bands in New Cross on a weekday. You know what I mean? I live in North London.
Fair point. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I live in Camden for a reason, so I can walk to the Underworld and the Ballroom and back.
Yeah, and that's it. That's fucking.
But there's not as many shows down there as there used to be. At the Garage occasionally, that's only a couple of stops on the Overground.
Yeah. There's some there is some cool venues in London, and there's shed loads of bands playing all the time, and you notice even more when you're in a band and you're trying to like route a tour, and it's just like when you start looking for clashes, it's just you just have to accept that there are going to be clashes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't go to. I've sort of been a bit more picky about gigs I go to because I was going out a lot, and I don't know, not being focused in here from first thing in the morning, so I've sort of cut away from some of the Deadwood. But I've not been. There was one night about 2 weeks ago where there was 3 things on in one night that I wanted to go to, but it's fairly irregular.
Yeah.
I mean, I still go to quite a few punk shows. I quite like to go and see punk bands as well.
Yeah. Well, I went to see Far From Saints last night, which is Kelly Jones's new band, Stereophonics. And that was like a weird experience because, of course, it's just it's.
Where was that?
It was in Kingston, the Prism.
Okay.
Doing a little club tour.
Right.
And I sold out. Absolutely smashed it. Loved it. But it just reminded me that you walk in and there's people like who you normally bump into in a supermarket, and it's kind of like it's full of them. Yeah, it's a
people that buy music in supermarkets.
Yes, it's the supermarket audience, isn't it? Oh, Stereophonics, yeah.
Does it sound like Stereophonics?
Well, I mean, his voice is his voice, but I don't know the Stereophonics these days well enough to be able to compare, but not really from what I could tell.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's a fairly sort of casuals, citizens crowd.
Yeah.
But what I was reminded of was that no matter what kind of music is, people who are really bang into their music are really bang into their music. There was people rocking out to stuff where I was like, calm down, mate. Yeah. It's not Slayer. But it's like he's absolutely lost in it, and it just kind of reminded me that sometimes in the metal community, I'm certainly guilty of sort of looking down upon,
It's easy done. Yeah, it's easy done. I sort of, I'm a gig traveller. That's one of my favourite pastimes. So, band that I like, if I see them touring somewhere random that I've never been before, I'm like, oh, that's a good reason to go there. And I want to switch it to my wife and go,
good way of doing it.
Have you ever been to, I don't know, here's a random one. We were like, have you ever been to Biarritz in the south of France? And she's like, well, no, I'd love to go there. She's interested in movie stars, 20s movies and all that.
Yeah.
It was where all those people used to hang out. She's like, hang on a minute, who's playing?
Yeah.
I was like, so it's Hortense's playing down there. She's like, that's like a couple of hours out of your day. All right, cool. And so we went there for the weekend. And that's kind of how we, she can get me somewhere if there's a band playing. We did Tokyo. Turnstile were playing, and that was like,
oh wow!
Saw them in a small club in front of 200 people.
That's fucking awesome.
Wonder which way the Japanese hardcore audience is going to go. Is it going to go for those big polite applause, or is it going to go boof?
Yeah,
it went boof.
Yeah, it's hardcore now.
Yeah.
Come on, but that's it's interesting. There'll be people listening. There'll be football supporters listening who recognise. That,
of course.
That like, oh yeah. Do you want to go? Well, it's just all right. Where are they playing? Pre-season tour, is it?
Yeah. It's not dissimilar. So that's kind of what takes me around, and I think that's quite a nice way to see bands. As well, I love London, but there's a distinct chin stroking part of the audience these days. And how many gigs have I been to down the Underworld? 1 million. Well, the last one I went to was Motley Crue at the Underworld.
Oh, now that must have been insane.
Yeah, about 3 weeks ago. It was nuts.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah.
That's... So, I mean, of all the bands I've seen at the Underworld, I mean, Christ, I've played there a few times, but of all the bands I've seen there at the Underworld, I just can't imagine Motley Crue.
It was, yeah. I mean, I think part of it was, because there'd been so many people calling them saying, "Oh, you playing to backing tracks in these stadium gigs?" And they were like, "We're going to play in this tiny club." And they kind of considered it to be a kind of punk rock style. They did it under a secret name. Well, it wasn't that secret, but they did it under a pseudonym. And
what was the pseudonym?
Dogs of War.
Oh, right, okay.
And with an umlaut. And there's nowhere to hide in the underworld.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And when I walked around there that evening, there was a massive truck outside, and it looked like they'd tried to squeeze a good chunk of their backline into it. But they fitted it on, and they'd obviously put a few extra lights, and they had a couple of podiums because they had these female backing singer stroke dancers. And it was great. They just banged out all these bangers in an hour, and you couldn't argue with it. I mean, Vince Neil's voice isn't what it was, but it's...
That's insane, though, that they've just gone, right, yeah, fine, well, we'll play a club show.
Yeah, 450 people. Next day I see them at Wembley Stadium. So it was an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah.
And it was fun. I mean, I'm not a huge Motley fan, but when you're hearing "Shout at the Devil" banged out in the underworld with people losing their minds,
Oh, mate, that would take me back to '86, I think, or '85, or whatever it was.
Yeah. They played quite a lot of those early tracks that were, because interestingly enough, at the stadium show, the two I went to for work, they were on before Def Leppard, and Def Leppard, you could have put. You shut your eyes and gone, I'm listening to the record. It was that perfect. Yeah. But ultimately, their show's not particularly exciting. I mean, we're thrash fans, and we learn people running around and having a bit of fun. Whereas the Crew were a bit more loose, and it was a bit more of a fun show. And then so, and you put that in the underworld, and it was good. Fun. Yeah, it was good.
Good. No, I like I said, so that's Nikki Sixx turns out to be, maybe not who I thought he was, and now they're playing the Underworld. It's kind of like, might have to dig out the old Crew records, give them another listen.
There's a box set out on BMG.
Always on the clock.
I didn't work on that. That's obviously we have the way the company works is that different territories have different repertoire.
Yeah.
So the UK company owns the noise catalogue, the Motorhead catalogue. Whereas the US guys, but we all do each other's marketing and whatever when the band comes into market and so forth. So it's quite joined up in that style.
Yeah, it's like any other business, isn't it? You're gonna have your equivalent in another country working on a project, and when that project becomes relevant to your country, then you interact with them, and hopefully the system works.
Yeah. But and our my colleagues, my sort of opposites are in LA. So sometimes there's some late night calls.
Yeah, I know from doing the podcast, as soon as my heart sinks when people say they live in LA. Oh, God, here we go.
Well, this is not metal at all, but I worked on a project a couple of years ago, well, a little bit metal. So Mick Fleetwood did this concert at the London Palladium. It was literally about a week before lockdown.
Right.
And it was Mick Fleetwood's tribute to Peter Green, even though Peter Green was still alive at the time. And it was this big all-star show, and it was Billy Gibbons, Steven Tyler, Kirk Hammett, Pete Townsend, Noel Gallagher, John Mayall, Christine McVie, Zach Starkey. So, and they all came on and did a turn and did a song each.
Yeah.
Billy Gibbons did 2 or 3. Kirk Hammett did Green Manalishi on the Greenie guitar that he's famously bought for like £1 million or whatever. And so BMG filmed it and released it. And at one point, I was having to connect interviewers with Mick Fleetwood, who lives in Maui. I don't know what time zone that is, but I had to get up at 5 a.m. because Mick would only do them in the evening his time, which is, I don't know, 8, between 7 and 8 or 9 at night.
Yeah.
So we were getting up at 5.
Ah, mate.
Putting calls through.
Yeah.
So LA.
yeah, fair enough. I just hope nobody ever interviews us that live in Maui.
So the next podcast guy's based in Maui.
Yeah. Bloody hell.
Or probably what's one of those little like Polynesian islands.
Oh yeah, I dread to think. Well, the thing about getting American interviewees on, if I'm dealing with them directly, is the time difference. Because people will tell you what time zone they're in at the moment, but what they don't realise is that not all of their state is in that time zone. Or they are in that time zone, but it's a different time the other side of the state. Yeah. So they say what time zone they're in, but it's always an hour out from the one that I've looked up for that bit, and it always says warning.
Yeah. I found a useful website for the Mick Fleetwood ones because we were coordinating with people in other territories.
Oh God, yeah, that must have
been. So we
had
to tell them the correct times, and I found a really useful website. I can't remember what it was, but to put the cities in where these people were.
Well, that's now my go-to is basically what city are you in.
We didn't want to mess with poor old Mick around.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised. Yeah,
it doesn't get more A-list.
Well, that cast of thousands that you reeled off is just like, wow.
Yeah.
How does anybody get all those people together?
Mick Fleetwood can do it. I did hear a funny story about Steven Tyler. That so we went to a pre-production meeting with one of the promoters, and apparently, cause they were doing this was a charity thing for the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Yeah.
So I guess there was artist expenses for them to come over and rehearse and whatnot, but apparently Steven Tyler wanted to bring a palm reader over. That was vetoed.
Funny that. not seen as a chargeable expense by the charity. Your own palm reader. Besides, just walk through any beaded shop, bead curtain, shop doorway, there'll be a palm reader the other side. Wow.
I don't know how true that is, but
well, there you go. We've repeated it as fact on my podcast. So there you go.
It's hearsay. I didn't hear it from Steven Tyler's mouth. So.
Well, that's true. Yeah. That's insane. But seriously, what a cast!
It was a great show. It was incredible. And
well, the Justin Hawkins thing was pretty incredible as well. The thing that Dave Grohl organised for him.
Yeah.
For the tribute show.
I was away when that was on the telly, but
I've seen that's been put up for a few awards and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But look, let's talk a little bit about the Motorcast. Which is the official Motorhead podcast. The Motorcast.
Are you going to ask me the question?
I don't know what the question is.
When did you first hear of Motorhead?
Sorry. Yeah, of course.
Come on. You felt the first time?
Oh God, I didn't realise. Yeah, I did. Well, obviously, we've started season 5 now.
God, yeah.
I know, and it rolls on aplenty.
Yeah.
And I'm just constantly amazed at the amount of people that we're able to get on. Some of the people that I've had the pleasure to speak to.
Yeah.
It's been incredible.
Yeah, I mean, they're always enjoyable to listen to. I think obviously some episodes are better than others, but some of them are particularly interesting. And I think that's the thing that's interested me about it is the people that have popped up and gone, I've got this great story, be it some of the fan-based ones you've done, or actually people that were kind of in or around Motorhead world, as you like.
I mean, making it open to fan interaction and to, it certainly really helps because the sense of ownership there is, well, you can't get much more of a sense of ownership than if you've got a good story, you've got a good chance of getting on the podcast, but it's also the fact that those people come out of the woodwork and go, hey, I've got this story, but it's the volume of them and the consistency of them. It's like I could be interviewing an artist, I could be interviewing Travis who came up with Movember
guy.
I could be interviewing the original drummer, but all the way through this, the stories you hear, it's like there's just a line of authenticity running through them all, like a stick of rock. It's like Motorhead, like a stick of rock.
And I think as well, it's essentially part of what we do, particularly in the catalogue world, is storytelling, and this is like distilled storytelling as podcasts. But I think what I love about it is it's there for all eternity. You know what I mean? It becomes this curated bank of work, and sadly we'll lose some of these people that have appeared on it.
Yeah.
I think one of my favourite ones was the guy that owned the studio where Ace of Spades had been recorded. He was obviously quite elderly, and he came on with his daughter, and they both told these great stories. And you think, he's never no one's ever spoken to him. I just kind of, through a weird researching stuff for the album, discovered that the studio was dismantled, and like they were trying to apply for lottery funding to have it rebuilt on one of those open air museums because it had been in an old barn. And I can't remember the guy's name now, but the daughter Sally, I messaged the page saying, oh, this is fascinating, and she came back to me, and so it was my father's studio. And so that's how we kind of got that conversation going. But I don't think anyone had ever spoken to him about being, them coming and recording that seminal record in his studio, because obviously we'd lost the producer, he'd passed away, Vic Mail, and so it was a fascinating one. That
I loved doing it, and I remember speaking to them both, and I loved her stories, seeing the whole thing from through her eyes as a young girl at the time, and
cleaning up their empties.
Exactly. But then and his view at the time, and then of course, as soon as you mention that, what it reminds me of is the conversation I had with Filthy's sister. She mentioned recording Ace of Spades and how much they were caning it at the time, and I mentioned that I'd spoken to the owner, and she said, well, he was as bad as anyone else. He was off his head all the time as well. And I was like, he never said that when he was talking to me.
Old broke.
Yeah, exactly.
He sounded like someone's sweet old granddad.
It's like great.
Those rascals.
Yeah, interviewees grassing each other up across episodes. It's like Game of Thrones. You got to watch it all the way through, or it won't make sense. But also it's funny the amount of times that I interview somebody, and when the interview finishes, I mean, invariably with a Motorcast interview there'll be conversation both sides of it, but also the amount of times that people will say, have you had Tones on? Yeah. No. Right, okay, I'll give you the details, or I'll get in touch with you. That's somebody you should speak to, track them down. There's a lot of that has gone on.
It's good. I mean, in the sort of, when we've been researching album anniversaries and stuff, and we work with a couple of super fans, and they're very knowledgeable and they knew all these people, but some of them aren't in touch with them anymore, and sadly some of them have passed away. But sometimes it's just trying to get to these people and have a chat with them. That's opened the door a little, made that bit a little bit easier than it was. Just kind of trying to email someone out of the blue and go, oh, do you want to contribute to some liner notes? It's not always that easy, I think, because it's become this sort of entity in its own right. It's
well, when publishers start sending me books and and interview requests and stuff like that, then I think
someone's done the research. That's a good PR, that one.
Absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned right at the beginning there about all of this stuff existing. It's there forever. And I kind of started out referring to this, this sort of mythical cloud-based museum that we're building for Motorhead. But it's kind of what it is in my head. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that kind of resource, and it's a way of just building. I was going to say building on the legacy. It's not. It's maintaining the legacy.
Yeah.
And there's people out there who still want to hear. They can't hear new Motorhead, but they want to hear new stuff about Motorhead.
Yeah. That's sort of, and I think it's it can be entertaining, educating.
Yeah.
It's an interesting kind of I think it's building a library, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you what, the one thing I know about, I mean, I'm in my 10th year of podcasting, and done a few years of the Motorcast. And the one thing that I've learned, which you should know better because every musician knows this, is you never know who's listening.
Yeah.
You never know who is listening. And you get people just turn up out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the very first full episode that you did was with Stefan, who's kind of part of Team Motorhead, who's kind of their creative director, and I think he might have mentioned my name in it. And every now and again, I get a message saying, "Just started listening to this new series. I didn't realise you were behind it." I was like, I get that every now and then. You go, "Oh, right, someone's tuning in."
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I can go in the back end and look at the numbers, but and it's a sort of steady incline. It's I think obviously some episodes do better than others. With the recent case in used to one, people tuned in a lot for that. Max Cavalier, he was very popular.
Yeah.
And told a great story, you know.
The Max one stands out to me because when anybody's got a story to tell about Lemmy, it's usually just great all the way through, or it starts off badly and then it's mostly great. Yeah. Whereas Max is like there's a lot of Shawshank before there's any redemption. You know.
Yeah. No, I think my favourite bit was let me tip the drink on his head and he'd be like, "I've been anointed by God," or something like that.
Yeah.
Because he tipped a rum and coke over him or something.
Yeah.
Bless it. Yeah, so, it's a lot of fun, and, and it kind of weaves and we sort of weave it in and out of the territory of what the stuff that we're releasing, but again, I think you don't have to listen to it in tandem with what's going on in the Motorhead release world.
No, not at all.
You
no,
can just dip in and out, or start from the beginning.
And there'll be people who find out that there's re-releases coming out purely through listening to the podcast.
Yeah,
you never know how people consume their media now, and
this is
how they find out about what. It's
I mean, I don't have enough hours in the day to listen to podcasts, but it's nice to know that someone's tuning in.
that, ladies and gentlemen, is a perfect place to leave it, because that is the classic. I don't have time to listen to podcasts, he says at the end of the podcast interview.
I might listen to
fuck you guys listening. Fuck you guys.
No. God bless you. Jesus, I would probably listen to them to and from work, but I only come to the office 3 days a week, and then that's trying to catch up on music.
Oh mate, when you're in a hole, stop digging.
Three. I'm already there, man. It's cool.
But in all seriousness, thank you. I mean, I'll always be grateful for you for getting the Motorcast off the ground, because
being a part of it couldn't exist without you.
Right back at you, honey. But you know and I know that it's usually to try and get something like this off the ground is a fucking nightmare, and you must have managed to get it turned around in under 8 weeks. I think it was about 6 or 7 weeks. And
well,
that's ridiculous.
Didn't we do this during lockdown?
Yeah,
that's what I thought. So I mean, I think
captive audience, obviously.
Yeah, but we were working on the 40th anniversary of arguably their most important album, The Ace of Spades, and we were like, maybe we should do a podcast about this, and so it was born.
Yeah,
and and we didn't even have the idea in a pub, which is my normal place of epiphany.
Isn't that weird? we had the audience just off air on a phone call in lockdown.
Yeah. I think maybe you'd invited me on to Talking Bollocks at some point, and I think I had a light bulb moment. It was like,
we were having a chat off air.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you've got a load of re-releases coming out. I said, why don't you do a podcast? You said, we've got the 40th anniversary of Motorhead coming up. That's like new, and then from there on out it was boom,
yeah.
The Motorcast is born.
It's good.
It's
a journey, and it's a lot of fun. So I mean, if you haven't listened to it, please tune in.
I like
Not
it.
You.
That's a much better.
To your audience.
That's a much better place to leave it. Yeah.
Subscribe, I think, is the word you like.
That's
to
it. Yeah.
Podcast.
That's it. Subscribe, smash a like. Do whatever you like. But thank you very much, Miles. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thanks, Howard.
Okay, so apologies. Yes, sound quality. Yeah. It was kind of mono, wasn't it? A bit tinny. I haven't used that recorder for a while because I literally haven't done many, in-person interviews for a while. That's my fuck up entirely. So I'm sorry that the audio was a little poor quality there. That's not what you pay for. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, yeah, this shit's free. Fuck you complaining. Hey? Yeah. Exactly. How much do you pay towards this? Absolutely nothing. So, the minute you start weighing in with the expenses, then you get to have a say, all right? Speaking of which, can't believe it, but I've just stumbled straight into patreon.com/Howard H. Smith for all your bullshit needs. Loads of stuff going on. There's a radio show, there's a live podcast once a month on Zoom, all sorts of stuff. The content is constantly coming. Behind the scenes, acid rain stuff, you name it. All sorts of stuff. Anyway, patreon.com/Howard H. Smith, or click the support the fucking podcast announcement in the description of this podcast. So there you go. Thank you all for coming. Nice to have you here. Pop back whenever you get the chance. There'll be another episode coming soon. Take care of it, everybody. Look after each other. Have a great time. Have a great day. And remember, whatever you're doing, make sure it's legal. And if it isn't, make sure no one finds out. Cheers.